Hey, how's it going? My name is Lee. You are here for Heavy Art Talk, and basically, an annual tradition for me is going through some of my favorite albums of the year. If you don't know me or this channel, it's dedicated primarily to illustration and visual art within the metal scene and music scene as well. So if you like that kind of thing, feel free to subscribe. You can see all my other podcast episodes. But breaking it up a little bit, just going to do a solo video going through some of my favorite albums. A couple of notes just right off the get go. Um, I don't expect your music taste to line up exactly with mine. And it's, I think, 18 metal albums. There's a few like in the indie rock scene, which I keep up with every once in a while too. But if you have different selections or different favorite albums, please put them in the comments. Just know that I don't think anyone's going to like all the albums that I'm listing here, and that's kind of the beauty in this. So at number 21, basically an honorable mention, I have Evoken with Medesium. At least I hope that's how it's pronounced. This came out on Profound Lore, and I love Evoken. I have a few of their albums, really good funeral doom with a little bit of a gothic tinge. I think with this album, there definitely is a very heavy, ominous, kind of disembowelment inspired sound with some really cool guitar tones. I also like that it's not always just the lumbering funeral doom. They break it up with some more upbeat and kind of like abrasive parts to kind of shake it up, which I thought was really nice. Personally, I like Hypnagogia just a little bit more. I thought that just took me a little bit more on a journey. But really, I just need to spend more time with this. But excellent album, really good funeral doom based out of New Jersey, I believe. All right. At number 20, I have Grimma with Nightside. This is a band that I kind of slept on previously. I thought their look was always unique, but for some reason, I just never really listened to their stuff. But I really like this album, and I think I'll be digging backwards a little bit. It's kind of hard to describe. I'd say it's like an atmospheric black metal, but it doesn't sound like, American atmospheric black metal at all. It's distinctly, Russian and European sounding. Part of that is because there's an accordion that's part of this, which is called a bion. I had to look at my notes here. But yeah, it kind of sounds, maybe a little off-putting, an accordion in a black metal album, but it actually adds a lot of like emotional weight to the overall album. And really cool album artwork here. I think if I had spent more time with it, perhaps this could have gone down a little bit, but really excellent production. The guitar melodies are extremely memorable, and the vocals are fantastic. So can't recommend this enough. Grimma with Nightside. All right, number 19, I have Havakrunu with Tavastland. This album came out earlier this year. It is like a Viking era Bathory inspired black metal album. Vocals are probably a little bit stronger than Korthon's, but in terms of the emotional weight, the epicness, the galloping triumph that you kind of feel when you're listening to this, they capture it perfectly. I think they are a very consistent band. All of their albums have been really good, and this just kind of continues that legacy. All right, next up, we have Between the Bear to Me with The Blue Nowhere. So I've been a BT Bam fan since I was in high school. I remember them playing and touring off Alaska, seeing them play Colors in full. I mean, I've been a fan for a long time. And I do prefer their older stuff, basically The Great Misdirect backwards. That being said, all of their albums have excellent musicianship. They are very well thought out. It's just sometimes they kind of go a little too circusy and like theater kid energy for my taste. Like with the Coma Ecliptic, which is a great album, but I have to be in the right mood. And I feel like this is like almost like Coma Ecliptic Part 2. That being said, there's some quirky parts that it's a little much at times. And it sounds like I don't like this album. The thing is, it has some extreme highs, like the song God Terror, the song The Blue Nowhere. I mean, it's excellent stuff. And even within all these songs, there's like pieces that I really love. It's just there's sometimes when they kind of go a little crazy with it. So that would be why it's kind of in the back end of this list. That being said, it's an excellent album. And if you like BT Bam, I think you'll dig it. If you don't like them, I don't think this is going to win over new fans personally. All right, next up we have Agriculture with The Spiritual Sound. This is a black metal or black metal adjacent record that blends post metal, post hardcore, post basically any genre. But really, this is an interesting listen. For me, when it comes to like my music taste, is I love stuff that stays true to tradition and roots, but I almost even more so love bands that are willing to take risks and basically go for it and innovate. And I feel like this band is doing that here. I don't think this is going to be for everybody, and I imagine some people are going to be like, "Oh, that record sucks." Hey, I don't blame you. But what I hear is a band that has a ton of ambition, excellent songwriting, really good guitar playing, very emotionally driven, and each song really has its own character. All right, next up we have Geese with Getting Killed. This is in the indie rock type of sphere. And, I checked this album out just because it was getting a lot of buzz and attention. And I can see why. This is an album that is brilliantly produced, very lively. It sounds like they're right in the studio playing. And the thing is, it's so dynamic. It really takes you on those ebbs and flows of heaviness and aggression, but then slips it back into something that's a little more liminal. I think this is a really provocative, thought-provoking album that just perfectly cements 2025 for me, where there's a lot of angst, there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of confusion. And I think this album captures it really well. I will say, some people are listening to this, if you're really more of a metal person, this might not be your bag at all, especially the vocals. Cameron Winter's vocals took me a lot of time to get used to. What helped me is I started thinking of them as almost like a more progressive avant-garde like Rolling Stones, and that kind of helped me like wrap my head around what they're trying to do. That makes sense in my brain. It might not make sense in yours, but I think this is a pretty interesting album. Next up, we have Yellow Eyes with Confusion Gate. This is a really good record. I think it is the last album to come out on Gilead Media, and it's a really good ending note for them. So Yellow Eyes, I'd say, is like a semi-dissonant, hypnotic, kind of like Krallice sounding black metal band, where you have these really intricate interplay between the guitars, and it eventually kind of gets you in somewhat of like a hypnotic state. All the musicians are spectacular here, and I think this is a very unique band. And I would say this album just kind of continues the trajectory of what they're really good at. So, really good record. Another album that really grew on me this year was Species with Changelings. This is a band based out of Europe. This release came out on 20 Bucks Spin. And I remember listening to one of the first tracks, I think it was The Essence, and I just didn't know what to really think of it. I mean, the vocals are very out there and a little wacky. But the thing is, I believe I was like drawing or something, and I put that song and I just kept it playing. Then it goes into Voyager and then Born of Stitch and Flesh. And, Waves of Time into Voyager. And I was like, oh shit, this is like, Psychotic Waltz meets like Death Human meets Voivod. Like it all kind of started to click into place. And I just love that they're like a three-piece, and you can tell that the music was written all like in a room, and it's such an organic sounding like record. So just really awesome musicianship, and I just have the feeling that like all of them have a very equal say in how the songs are written. It just feels that way, which is refreshing because so often bands are like, one or two songwriters, then it's people who just play the music. I really get a good collaborative songwriting experience, or at least that's how I perceive it with this record. So if you happen to have not listened to it, give it a little bit of a chance. The vocals do take a little bit of adjusting, but once you get used to it, I think this is some of the most brilliant songwriting this year, personally. All right, next up, we have Ghost with Skeleta. So, Ghost, if you just think of them as a Swedish pop band that is a little satanic and just having fun, I think you're going to have a better experience than trying to think of them as a metal band. So that's my one note. That being said, kind of think about it from that perspective. I saw them earlier this year with some friends, and my wife is a huge Ghost fan, a bigger fan than I am. And, it's just playing all the time. So Her and I bond over Ghost together. It's something that we can have on in the car, in the house. And I think that just kind of shapes my experience with the record. I've listened to it many times because of that. And the songs are just so catchy. So if you just want something that's lighthearted, fun, and catchy, and still has some really good solos and just really good, tight pop songwriting, I mean, this is an excellent record. So just don't think of them as a metal band, and it's actually a better experience. All right, next up, we have Wednesday with Bleeds. This is a North Carolina-based band that is a little hard to describe. They have a little bit of Southern in their sounds. I think they have a pedal steel player in the band. They also can go really heavy, like the song Wasp on this record. They can get really country sounding, a little shoegazy. They're a hard to describe band, but I really like them. I don't think they're going to be for everybody. Probably people listening to it, I don't think it'll be up your alley. But for me, I used to live in like Athens, Georgia, and that was a very eclectic indie rock type town. I lived there in my 20s. And that kind of shaped my exposure to this type of music where they take a little bit of the Southern sound. You know, I'm from Atlanta, so it's part of my DNA. But you take the Southern sound, but then you twist it with some different genres, some really heavy guitars, and you just get something really interesting. And the lyrics are very like storytelling, I think, based off of like, you know, the lead singer's experiences. And yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting record. I like it. I don't know if you will. All right, next up, we have Hooded Menace with their new record, which I'm going to read off my notes. Lachrymose Monuments of Obscuration. Yeah, that's it. I don't know what that means. Excellent Wes Benscotter art, just while we're here. But yeah, I mean, Hooded Menace, they're awesome. Every album's a little bit different. I feel like this one is doomy. It's got a little bit of that like Ozzy heavy metal type of sound. I feel like the Tritonius Bell was even more that way. This is kind of like a marriage of Ossuarium with Tritonius Bell. Yeah, really great record. Excellent production. Vocals are fantastic. It's like catchy where it needs to be. I love the drumming on it. It just propels the songs forward. So really great record. Awesome artwork. Hooded Menace never misses. Next up, we have Wake with Return of Magic. Wake is a band out of Arkansas, I believe. It's a sludge, semi-progressive, post-metal type band. They have some like spoken word in there. They have some really cool vocals, just really dynamic, almost like Swans in that respect. Or at least that's how I listen to it. But this is a really great record. I've always liked Wake, but really giving them like as much attention as they deserve is something that's come from this year. I think a lot of us listening to Nate Garrett's Big Riff Energy and how highly he speaks of them. It really has rubbed off on me. So I think this is an excellent album, and it's really cool to see them coming back with something this strong. They didn't miss a step. So great record. All right, next up, we have Sanguisugabogg with Hideous Aftermath. I know some folks don't really like Sanguisugabogg, but I've also heard from some friends that they didn't like any of the previous Bog material, but then this one won them over. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I do feel like besides Tortured Whole, this is the best thing that they've done as of yet. And the reason I like Tortured Whole so much is it was like written in 2 days and it just has a spontaneous energy. With this, it's very well thought out, very calculated. The production is so heavy, and it's a true death metal album. It definitely leans on Cannibal Corpse a little bit more than previously, but then there's like some like sludgy sections too, which are really unique. Cody is one of the best drummers in the game. That propels it forward. And I feel like vocals from Devin are better than ever on this. So love this album. It goes hard. And those guys are always on the road working hard. So all of the growth that they've had comes from all the hard work that they've done. And I see it firsthand. All right. My favorite death metal album of the year would go to Ancient Death with Ego Disillusion. This is a really unique record. And looking at my list here, Profound Lore has had an excellent year. probably one of the best years they've had in a while. And this album is part of that experience. So what do you have here? You have death metal that's kind of in the, I don't know, cavernous but not cavernous, old school death metal kind of thing. I mean, a little bit sounds like Blood Incantation in terms of the death metal elements, but where they kind of spin it is they have a female vocalist who does some almost like dead can dance, like Middle Eastern parts, and it's all really cohesive. So you go from like one mood to another, and it doesn't really feel as jarring as I'm describing it. So this is a really cool band. I hope that they continue to grow from this in terms of popularity and being able to get on some really cool tours. But I love this record, and I think it's one I'll be listening to from years to come. All right, one of the best black metal albums of the year would definitely be One of Nine with Dawn of the Iron Shadow. First of all, just amazing Ted Nasmith art on the front. Probably, actually, I'll just say, yeah, this is my favorite album art of the year. And yeah, I'm not even a giant Lord of the Rings fan. I mean, I like it a lot, but Lord of the Rings fans go way hard. I'm more of a sci-fi guy. But man, not only is this album cover great, but this album is so damn good. It's black metal, a little bit of symphonic touches in there, but man, like, and they even have like some spoken word that, like, it's kind of like Lord of the Ringsy, but like, dude, it's just so good. If you like the last Holder album, I feel like this is very similar but better, perhaps. I don't know. I'm not really describing it well, but if you like black metal, this is definitely one of the best black metal albums of the year. It's getting a lot of hype, but it really deserves it. It's the complete package. And not only is this good album artwork, there's a really great level of attention and love that goes into all the liner notes in terms of the art and the illustrations. So, for me, being an illustrator, like, that carries some weight. So excellent music, excellent package. You can tell there's a lot of love and attention that went into this. And yeah, one of the best. All right, next up, a band that really has blown up this year. That would be Castle Rat with The Bestiary. So, the first Castle Rat album, I remember listening to it, and it did not wow me, like, at all. It's not that it was bad, I didn't really care. This is different. First of all, the musicianship is, like, way better. The production is way more big and grand in scale and epic. And yeah, I'm just kicking myself for not seeing them in Atlanta because their tickets sold out before I really, really dug into them. So it's still like a relatively new thing for me, but yeah. Let's see, Wizard, Siren, Unicorn. I mean, there's no weak tracks on here, but those three that, they all go together. I think those are really strong tracks, and that's where my attention is probably at the fullest. But yeah, excellent record, ton of fun. I don't really think it's that cheesy when you're actually just listening to it. I think it's just fun, heavy metal, and it's obviously fantasy, sword and sorcery, but hey, it's a good time. All right, I think we're in the top 5. So we have Deaf Heaven with Lonely People with Power. So Deaf Heaven's an interesting band. I've been into them since Sunbather, and then this year I had the opportunity to do quite a bit of illustration work for them. So I have a lot to thank in terms of that band and the people behind the scenes for this band for giving me the opportunity. That being said, I'm pretty unbiased here in terms of, like, I could have just done the job and not love the music. Like, that's totally fine. I'll say they really went all out with this record. And I feel like it has some of those Sunbather elements, but it's heavier and darker in a lot of ways too. Production's amazing. Drumming is just so good. And, like, I love the post-rock sections of this band. So I know they're a divisive band, but I feel like a lot of people got won over with this record, and good. From what I understand, all the people in the band are really nice, cool people. Sure, the album cover and all that, it's not your typical black metal, but that's what they do. They subvert what you're expecting. And yeah, for some folks, they're not going to dig it. For me, I think it's a really, really excellent album, carefully crafted. And yeah, it was a pleasure working with them this year. All right, next up, we have Sallow Moth with Mossbane Lantern. This came out on iVoidhanger. If you know anything about that label, you know it's going to be eccentric and a little weird, and this does not disappoint. So Gary Bentz is the guy behind this band, and yeah, it's all over the place. Couple things that I really like about it. Not only is the music just very eclectic and weird, it goes from like really heavy, brutal death metal parts to like almost jazz fusion things, like cynic kind of sounding stuff. But it's like a world building album. From what I understand, there's like some artifacts that have special properties or powers. And like, dude, I've been on a huge sci-fi kick this year, like the kind of more mystical sci-fi stuff. And like, this just falls right in that camp, and I love it. So you have song titles like Gutscape Navigator and Ice Gorger Gauntlets. And it's just, I don't know. It's just like, I immediately think, what are those things? And I want to draw them. So like, for me as like a visual artist, it like gives me so much to work from in terms of like illustrating these concepts. So I love it because I not only hear it, but I like think about how you visually make this sound visually. So I'm redundant here, but yeah, I don't know. I like albums that puzzle me, and this puzzled me in the best way possible. So excellent album. All right, we're getting here towards the end. This is a late contender. It just came out. I just got in the mail the other day, but we have Bluthaus Nord with Ethereal Horizons. So I'm a big Bluthaus Nord fan. I will say my favorite stuff that he's done blends beauty with darkness, right? Some of his stuff is so dissonant and like Lovecraftian that's kind of, puts me in a bad mood, I guess you could say. It's too dark for just like everyday listening. But with Hallucinogen and this album, there's like this uplifting, layered, just, I don't know, it just feels like it's shooting into the stars, and I just love it. So there's all these really beautiful layers, and they all work so well, and everything's clear. Like, you put this on with headphones, and it's just like, you do feel like you're being ascended up. So there's like this uplifting quality to it, but it's still obviously black metal. And compared to like some of these other black metal picks where, I know they're not true black metal, this guy still keeps that energy alive. So to me, this is my favorite black metal album of the year because it's doing Bluthaus Nord the way that really, really resonates with me. So this is an excellent album. I need to listen to it more, honestly, but I just know that in terms of everything he's doing here, the cohesive full package and just the grand scale of this production, this is my favorite black metal album of the year. All right, getting into top two, and actually I guess this would be my favorite metal album of the year. That would be Mesa with The Spin, or is it Mesa? I'm not sure. Either way, this album is so good. First of all, the vocals are just perfect. Like, they're beautiful, they're sultry, they're evocative. They're just perfect for the sound. And then the guitar tone, the production, like there's elements that kind of sound like The Cure and like kind of gothy. And then it goes on like these jazz elements that it's not like free jazz, like spastic. It's like just tasteful, loungy jazz as it like kind of breaks down from like the bigger heights. So I don't know, this album's just beautiful. And it's an album also that you can just put on to just about anybody because it's not extreme at all, and they're going to find something to like about it. And to me, I've been listening to extreme metal since I was like 11, and I know that there's some people that are never going to like it. But when you produce a metal album that has more universal appeal without selling anything short and it being an artistic statement, I mean, that's really commendable, you could say. So this album, I think, is amazing. I'm going to be listening to it for years. It's also another album that I can listen with my wife, and we really both dig it, and that always carries a lot of weight. So my number one would definitely be Alex G with Headlights. So for those who don't know Alex G, he's a singer-songwriter, producer, my eyes, like a musical genius. But basically all of his albums have this like liminal, semi-lo-fi kind of quality. And for me, it's like perfect. It really like hits me emotionally, hits me on the soul. So for me, it's been a year where I've need some like comfort, and Alex G provides that, but it also provides some really cool like escapism as well. The production goes in so many different places, yet all feels cohesive at the same time. It's masterful. So for me, I love Alex G. Might not be your bag, but this was the album I needed to hear this year.